Hey, it's Mel. I hope you're doing well. Today we're looking at the solved case of Teresita Basa, the woman who solved her own murder. Now, this case is very interesting. The title immediately grabbed my attention, and I thought I'd share this case with you guys. Usually I cover unsolved cases, but this one just piqued my interest. How this case in particular was solved remains a mystery. It all began with a woman named Teresita Basa, and I hope I am pronouncing her name right. Teresita was born in 1929 in the Philippines. Her family was very wealthy and she was an only child. Teresita's dad was a lawyer. After graduating from Assumptions College in Manila, Teresita came to the US where she received a master's degree in music from Indiana University. Teresita then went on to study inhalation therapy. Teresita eventually settled down in Chicago, Illinois, where she became a respiratory therapist at Edgewater Hospital. Teresita was very dedicated to her job and she took pride in it. Teresita was known to be very polite and a hard-working woman. In her free time, she began writing her very own book and she would give out piano lessons. Teresita lived a very quiet life. She lived by herself and she was not a drinker. On the 21st of February 1977, around 7:30 p.m., Ruth Loeb, a friend from the hospital, called Teresita. The two spoke on the phone for half an hour, and Teresita had mentioned that evening she had a male guest coming over to her house, but she did not identify him or say his name. Nearly 1 hour later, two of Teresita's neighbors smelt smoke and immediately alerted the other neighbors, who then called the fire department. Teresita's apartment, 15B, had gone up in flames. Firefighters sped towards the apartment block on Pine Grove Avenue. Once firefighters arrived at the scene, they found the naked body of 47-year-old Teresita under a mattress with a knife still in her chest. She had been stabbed multiple times and her clothes were found next to her body, all folded up. Now, because Teresita was found naked, a lot of people thought that she had been raped before her death. However, a medical examiner confirmed that she had not been raped. The police did an investigation and it was clear to them that whoever killed Teresita had set the fire to cover up their tracks and then the person escaped. There was no witnesses to the crime, the police could not find a motive, Teresita had no enemies, Teresita's body was flown back to the Philippines for the funeral. Two detectives were assigned to the case called Joseph Stakula and his partner, Lee Eplin. Detectives Lee and Joseph interviewed Teresa's co-workers, her acquaintances and her friends. In the burnt apartment, Joseph and Lee had found a note that Teresa had written, which read, quote, "Get tickets for AS," end quote. The detectives had no clue as to who AS was. The case went cold until July. The police in Evanston contacted Detective Joseph and told him about a technician called Alan Showery who worked at the Edgewater Hospital where Teresita had worked. The Evanston police referred Joseph to a doctor named Juan Chua, and it is here where the case took a very bizarre turn. Dr. Juan Chua told Detective Joseph and his partner Lee some very interesting information. Joseph had arranged to meet Dr. Juan at his home to talk. Dr. Juan was a surgical assistant who lived in Skokie, a suburb of Chicago, and worked at Franklin Boulevard Community Hospital. Dr. Juan had a wife named Remy, who was also from the Philippines. Remy had been a previous co-worker and a friend of Teresita. It's said that Remy got fired from her job at Edgewater Hospital, though I'm not sure why. Remy worked as a respiratory therapist. Now, according to Dr. Juan, his wife Remy was possessed by Teresita. That is quite a big claim. Dr. Juan was very embarrassed to tell Joseph and his partner Lee about this. Dr. Juan explained that his wife Remy had sporadically gone into a comatose state and she would speak in the voice of another woman, specifically speaking with a Spanish accent, which she did not have. Remy would also go into trance-like states. Over the summer, Remy had got into a trance 3 times and at first she didn't know what to make of it. Oh, by the way, side note, something I forgot to mention before, apologies. According to some sources, Dr. Juan also went by the name Josie, spelled Gose, but I'm just going to call him Dr. Juan because it's easier, to be honest. One time, During one of Remy's trance-like states, she said to her husband, quote, "I am Teresita Basa. Doctor, I would like to ask you for help. The man who murdered me is still at large," end quote. After saying this, Remy snapped out of the trance. During these trance-like states, Dr. Juan asked his wife Remy more questions, and in the voice of Teresita, Remy answered. She said to her husband that the man who killed her was Alan Showery. 5 months after Teresita's death, that's when Dr. Juan and his wife Remy spoke to the police about it, and they also had motive, but at the time I don't think the couple were taken seriously. Now moving on to Alan Showery. Alan was a 32-year-old technician who worked at the same hospital as Remy and Teresita. Teresita considered Alan as a friend. According to Remy, who spoke in the voice of Teresita, apparently this is what happened. On the 21st of February 1977, Alan had gone to Teresita's house to fix the TV. But instead, he killed her and stole her jewellery. The jewellery was bought in France and once belonged to Teresita's mother. According to the detectives, Alan later admitted to the murder. After Remy and Juan told Lee and Joseph this information, that's when they found out that Alan's girlfriend had Teresita's jewellery. The police arrested Alan on the 11th of August. In Alan's confession, he said that he had gone to Teresita's apartment to rob her in order to pay his rent. He said that all he got was a handful of jewellery and £30. In the newspapers, this case was known as Voice from the Grave. During Alan's trial, the public defendant at the time suspected that Remy had faked her possessions because she was friends with Teresita and because she was previously fired from her job. But Dr. Juan backed his wife up, saying that even though the three worked at the same hospital, Remy had never met Alan. Alan Showery was convicted of murder and sentenced to 14 years in prison, and 4 to 12 years for robbery and arson charges. However, Alan was released in 1983 after serving only 7 years. So that is the very odd case of Teresita Basa, the woman who solved her own murder. There's no way to know how Remy Chua was able to identify Alan Showery as the suspect. Was Remy actually possessed? Or did she overhear Alan talking about his upcoming work at Teresita's apartment? Was it real? Was it fake? Let me know what you think about this case in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.